In this video we'll be talking about prefixes in physics. So prefixes are actually very useful. They are letters that come in front of a unit and they tell us how many times bigger or smaller that unit is compared to the original unit. Okay, and the reason why they're so important is because in physics scientists deal with very large numbers and very small numbers, and it can be difficult to deal with those numbers unless you have a way of organizing them and making it convenient, and we do that by using prefixes. So here are all the prefixes that you need to be aware of. You've got nano, micro, milli, centi, kilo, mega, giga and tera. So, and these are the symbols for the prefixes. Just try not to get confused between prefixes and units. These are not units, these are prefixes. They come at the beginning of units and they tell us how many times bigger or smaller they are compared to the original unit. And I think it will make more sense when I go through some examples. But here are their sizes. So we've got nano is 1 over 1 with 9 zeros, so 1 over a billion. So nano basically tells us that it's a billion times smaller. Micro at the beginning of a unit tells us it's a million times smaller. Micro. Milli tells us it's 1,000 times smaller. Centi 100 times smaller. Kilo is 1,000 times bigger, so you can see here the power is positive. These are all negative powers because they're smaller. So I've written it here as powers of 10 as well. That's another way you can write it. Mega is a million times bigger. Giga is a billion times bigger, and tera is 1,000 billion times bigger. So here are all your prefixes and what they tell you. Okay, so now let's have a look at some examples. So the unit for length is meter, and we've got the symbol there in brackets as well. Now I can put a k in front of it, and km is basically a kilometer, so it's 1,000 times bigger than a meter. In front of that m I can also put a small m, which is a millimeter. Milli, that's the prefix milli, and this tells us that it's 1,000 times smaller. Remember from the table, milli is 1,000 times smaller, and kilo is 1,000 times bigger. And let's have a look at one more example. I can put an n in front of that meter symbol. So this n symbol is a nanometer. Okay, so that tells me it's a billion times smaller than the meter. So you can see here all of these are the prefixes. Okay, and I got these symbols from here, from these brackets. Let's have a look at another unit. So for time the unit is seconds. Again, in front of a second I can put a micro symbol, which is like this. So a microsecond is basically a million times smaller than a second. I can have ns, so nanosecond is a billion times smaller than a second. I can have ms, millisecond, which is 1,000 times smaller. Okay, I think it would make sense if I did it in order. So millisecond is 1,000 times smaller, microsecond is a million times smaller, and nanosecond is a billion times smaller. Let's have a look at one more. So the unit for mass is kilograms. Okay, this is our base unit or our original unit. It's already kilograms. So if something is in grams, which is 1,000 times smaller, because kilo makes it 1,000 times bigger, if something's in grams, it's basically 1,000 times smaller, but this is not the standard unit. Kilograms is the standard unit. I can have milligrams, which is 1,000 times smaller than a gram. Okay, so that is the end of this video, and hopefully now you should have a better idea of what are prefixes and what they mean.